a difficult time working whatever data they get through their five senses. And what happens is the data they get gets worked through those past traumatic experiences. So when they come to you, they're not going to be as reasonable as they would probably like to be. And they're going to be just kicked right into that emotion and kicked in to whatever past experience they had, survival, low self-esteem, I don't know how I'm going to pay my rent, I'm going to, you know, if I get a bad grade on this test, I'm going to flunk my class, which means I'm going to lose my financial aid, which means I'm not going to have any money, which means I'm going to lose my apartment, which means I'm going to be living on the streets. When, in fact, they may have all A's, and this is one bad grade. But they're not going there. They're in that crisis place. Or maybe they go to the financial aid counter, and they just need to fill out one form. But they're starting to panic because they don't know how to fill out that form. And if I don't fill out that form, I'm not going to get my financial aid, which and goes down that road. So what do we do to be trauma-informed? What it means is that we're not going to treat the trauma. We're not going to become their therapists. That's not what this means. We don't have to become their therapists. But what it does mean is we're going to do what we can to understand the behaviors, what their perception is, what is really going on, what do they think is really going on. There's some research. I'm developing an overall mental health program for the campus that is really systemic in that I want to have multiple ways that students can get their mental health needs met, and we can start to increase the number of students that are receiving mental health services. And there was some research, and it was called perceived academic success, or academic control rather, perceived academic control. And what this says is that when students perceive that they can be in control of their academics, they start to experience optimism. Now, optimism is closely connected to student success. Optimism is something that is what's called a state trait. It's state trait, meaning that you are either an optimistic person or you're not an optimistic person. It's kind of like you're either a glass half full person or a glass half empty person. And so you know, when students come to us, they're either going to be optimistic or not optimistic. We can't always control that. But what we can do is we can help them think that it's optimistically. In other words, we can't control their personality traits, but we can sometimes help them with their perceptions. And so what was found is that by instilling hope in students, by instilling positive self-esteem, by helping them believe in themselves, by helping them to see the glass half full instead of half empty at the moment, the page may not be completely filled out, but you know, it's 80% filled out. That's optimistic. That's not, you haven't filled out this paper right. So by helping students, by taking that positive approach with them, oftentimes we can instill hope and we can increase their perceived academic control, that sense of control over my academics, that sense of control over my students' success, over my success. When we're looking at working in a trauma-informed environment, we respond in a way that helps students